There's a mod for Cyberpunk 2077. It's a VR mod, and it allows you to go through Cyberpunk 2077, but in full VR. This is a little snippet that was put together by Synth showing what the mod actually looks like when you're using it. You put a VR headset on, you can play through the game, or at least portions of it, and experience it in VR, which is genuinely really cool. And it started catching headlines because it was DMCA'd by CDPR. What? Let me explain why that it's not what it sounds like, okay? The guy that did this is a guy named Luke Ross, okay? No relation. I know, shocking. Shocking. I don't have any connection to him. Luke Ross is a VR enthusiast, freelance developer, does modding and stuff like that for VR projects. He put this mod together. He has a Patreon. The Patreon had this mod locked behind its like closed doors. You couldn't get in unless you paid for access. I think it was $10 a month, which violates many like rules and guidelines that CDPR has. CDPR's rule is that you can mod to your heart's content. You can do all of that stuff. That's fine, but you cannot charge money for it. You can't. That's not allowed. That's a big no-no. And so, in the initial framing, again, shout out to Synth Potato for showing the screenshot he posted to his Patreon. Many of you have noticed 2 of my recent posts disappeared about a week ago. I apologize, could not comment personally about the fact because there was an ongoing legal exchange. Now that the dust has settled, I'm even more sorry to announce that we are leaving behind an adventure that so many of you deeply loved and enjoyed. CD PROJEKT RED SA decided that they would follow in Take-Two Interactive Software steps and issue a DMCA takedown notice against me for the removal of the Cyberpunk 2077 VR mod. At least they were a little more open about it, and I could get a reply both from their legal department and the VP of Business Development, but in the end, it amounted to about the same ironclad corpo logic. Every little action that a company takes is in the name of money, but everything that modders do must be absolutely for free. As usual, they stretch the concept of derivative work until it's paper thin, as though a system that allows visualizing 40+ games in fully immersive 3D VR was somehow built making use of their intellectual property. And as usual, they give absolutely zero Fs about how playing their game in VR made people happy, and they cannot just be grateful about the extra copies of the title they sold because of that, without ever having to pour money into producing an official conversion. No, they're not planning to release their own VR port, in case you were wondering. Turns out it is true that the legal team for CDPR and the VP of Business Development did reach out to him a week ago. They reached out to him and told him, you cannot charge money. If you allow the mod to be free and freely available, and then you open up your Patreon, maybe there's even a pop-up that says, hey, if you like the mod, support me on Patreon. You can do that, but you cannot lock this behind a paywall, because then you're charging money for it. You're effectively reselling our product because it's the VR mod for our product, right? So they told him, just make it free and ask for Patreon subscriptions, but you can't lock it behind Patreon. He refused. And so they sent a straight takedown notice. And then he framed it as though this is like them. This is what's like kind of funny about it, is that it's framed as they're just being greedy and they don't want you to have this VR mod. He's the one that's refusing to list it for free because for him, it's about the money. Like, see what I mean? You can be frustrated that they don't want him to be able to charge money for it. That's fine. But they have no problem with the VR mod. They have no problem with that. It's specifically charging money for something and locking it behind a paywall. That's where you get into like sticky situations and problems, because it's just, they have legal restrictions and there's things that they can't allow you to do. Otherwise they open themselves up to all sorts of like legal vulnerability, basically. Let me see if I can find the original post real quick. Yeah, I don't see it. Basically though, yeah, I could keep digging for it, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to find it. Effectively, like, I get why some people might be peeved about it. I get it. It would be nice if it was just totally open, but he was taking something, modding it, locking it behind a paywall. Whenever you start to sell something that is contingent on something that's like not, it gets weird. It gets weird. And part of the reason that gets weird, again, is because there's all sorts of legal crap, specifically from the EU. My understanding is the EU has a lot of consumer protections, specifically when companies indirectly are encouraging you to purchase something. So if there's a VR mod that you buy effectively with a $10 a month subscription to his Patreon, a Patreon he's making reportedly like 20 grand a month from. Okay. It's not a starving artist, it seems. But he was like, if they indirectly are allowing this VR mod to be distributed and marketed using their game, then according to some arguments that have been put forward within like Belgium, for example, they then have a responsibility for consumer protections that could arise as a result of the VR mod, because they're effectively, by not issuing takedown notices, they are condoning it, right? But they don't have any connection to it, which opens them up to many vulnerabilities. If he does something or screws customers over, they could then go and claim that CDPR was aware of it, didn't stop it. So they thought maybe they were supporting the VR mod by not striking it. You know, it sounds stupid, but many legal problems are stupid and pedantic. That's just how they work, which is why you have to enforce your copyrights, your trademarks, and stuff like that. Personally, to me, I think this is a case, as some of you guys have said, of F around and find out. And I think that that's kind of what this is. He's trying to frame it as though they are being greedy and refusing to let people enjoy the VR mod. They're refusing to let people enjoy the VR mod unless there's money involved. But that's literally what he's doing by locking it behind his Patreon and then taking it down when they tell him he can't sell it. So to me, it seems like he's guilty of the exact same thing that he is doing himself. Very talented dev, it seems. Like, I can't even imagine how complicated it is to get something like that working. But as far as I can tell, this is not the clear-cut corpo bad situation. It seems like they gave him plenty of outs and an opportunity to still distribute the mod he made and to still make money on it by offering indirectly that he could, ask for Patreon donations and memberships. He just couldn't lock it behind that wall. He had to give it away for free and then request the money. He can't sell it, but he didn't want to do that. So he took the mod down and now people can't use it at all. But that's his prerogative. He can do that too. Nobody's saying he can't. It's just, it's really rich seeing that he's framing it the other way when he's kind of guilty of the exact thing that he's saying. Why wouldn't you just put it on Nexus? Because again, he was making $10 a pop off of signups to get the mod. So I think his whole brand basically is that you get the mod by giving me money. And if you don't give me the money, you don't get the mod. And so, shout out the mod. Well, you can't get it now because you're not allowed to buy it effectively. So you can't really shout it out anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. So anyway, interesting story, but that's what's going on with it. Just so you're aware.